I've just done a podcast. I've done a podcast before as a kind of a guest where I've been just on the other end of the phone, kind of being interviewed, I guess. But this was a very different one. This was with my friend and my Jiu Jitsu instructor, Chris Fensom, and he's got a podcast that's mainly for sort of fighters, UFC, mixed martial arts, that kind of thing. And he does it with a friend of his, Darren, who also know. And it's got a pretty good following. It's a pretty popular podcast, quite a niche podcast, I think. But he asked me to come on a while ago as a guest, and I couldn't make it. And then he was away, and so I said, well, let's just do it. And kind of Fridays was going to be the day. So anyway, I just got back from that, and just kind of really enjoyed the format, which is very relaxed, just conversational. And what I found as we sort of got into it and I kind of really relaxed, and it really was just a conversation. I'll put the link up in the comments, actually, in the description. To he's already put it up online, apparently. Literally finished about half an hour ago. But one of the things that we were talking about was ego. And, Chris has come... he's a personal trainer, not so much a PT nowadays, but he's a black belt in one of the hardest martial arts to get a black belt in. And so we were talking about kind of ego. We were talking about, I talked about my experience of walking into the room the very first time I took a jiu-jitsu session, went for a lesson with him. And, how I was walking into a room, I'm good at several things. I'm pretty good. And, walking into this room where I'm absolutely completely novice, not just novice, but have no clue what it is I'm doing. Even somebody who's been to one lesson knows almost infinitely more than I do about this sport. And so kind of going in was a really interesting experience for me. And we sort of were talking about ego from that aspect. What is it about people in general, and me and Chris in particular, that ego is such a that part of ego is such an important kind of driving force, an influencing factor with what you do and how you experience life. Because I acknowledged what was happening, and sort of embraced it. That was my approach. That was one of the things that I really got out of the whole jiu-jitsu experience, was going through and actually being okay with being a complete beginner. A bit like I've talked about with these videos, having 0 views on many of these videos, and very few subscribers, and very little interaction. Poor me. Subscribe now, make me feel better. But that whole point, like I'm doing these videos and not expecting anything. Sort of the part of me that wants to have these interactions, but then not getting it and actually being okay with that. So anyway, kind of that was where the whole ego thing came from, conversation. But Chris asked me about motivational speaking. I didn't kind of really go into these videos and what I'm doing here, but he said, why do you want to do it? And I said, well, mainly because I enjoy it and I want to kind of share my message, and it's a great platform to do that from. And he kind of half jokingly said, yeah, but, the ego comes into it a little bit as well. I said, well, yeah, absolutely, it does. And it was the first time I'd really thought about it. Certainly the first time I've articulated it, but it absolutely is a reason why I enjoy doing it. I like being on a stage, and I like being the guy who's who's speaking, the guy who's kind of got that certainty and that control. And I think I've sort of hidden away from that in the past, and now I'm sort of embracing it more and owning it, and owning that I can be authentic. I can enjoy it. I'm allowed to enjoy that experience. I don't have to be a dick about it, right? I don't have to be go out there and kind of look at me. I'm the big guy I am. And as I feel like, as long as I'm authentic with it, and I'm going about this with the drive and motivation comes from wanting to help people, wanting to inspire people so that they can take more action in their lives and thrive more in their lives. I don't think I'm ever going to lose sight of that. But as long as I don't, then there's absolutely nothing wrong with enjoying that process, enjoying that experience at the same time. So it was really interesting kind of going through that thought process with Chris, just in a kind of conversational way. If you listen to the podcast, we literally spoke for 2 hours. These videos are like 5, 6, 7 minutes long. This was a 2-hour podcast. The time flew by. Chris is a fascinating guy. Really, really interesting guy. I've known him for a long time, and I learn a lot today that I didn't know about him previously. So if you have 2 hours to spare on a long old car journey and you want to be entertained, then go and check it out. But it was kind of it was interesting for me to hear that myself, kind of go through that process. Anyway, that's just happened to me, and I'm struggling a little bit now with articulating anything at all. My words aren't coming out. I need an evening of not talking at all now. As for the last couple of days, I've been focused on boost stuff apart from the podcast this afternoon, and looking forward to the 21-day program. I have had a couple of other things come back on speaky stuff, and I'll report back on those tomorrow or Sunday. But for now, I'm going to sign off and say thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another update. Bye for now.